Yeah, she's calling back. We're going to try to give her a call again, and then she just added another phone number to the 13-year-old grandson who's possibly with the daughter. Step out with this.
2412.
Veteran crisis hotline's calling in, so they have a female veteran off her medication. She's at work to Safe Haven. Attacking 12, take a check that one out.
6 Rumble, 2 point start, take your shots.
Officer still stands for talk? No. Offender in custody? Temporary with the... Thanks. Anyone else close, might just see something, let me know. Come first number. 10-4. Grandson, who's possibly with the daughter. Step out with this.
2412.
Veteran crisis hotline's calling in, so they have a female veteran off her medication. She's at work to Safe Haven. Attacking 12, take a check that one out.
6 Rumble, 2 point start, take your shots.
Officer still stands for talk? No. Offender in custody? Temporary with the... Thanks. Anyone else close, might just see something, let me know.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Hopefully this works like it's supposed to. Come on. Oh, where's Yolie?
There I am.
There she is.
Okay, I'm here.
It almost worked like it was supposed to.
Oh my God. I know I'm not at my regular computer. I still don't have it yet ready, but I'm doing okay.
I like the curtains. It looks pretty cool. Makes me think vampire.
Mysterious. Yeah.
Yes, mysterious. Keith Morrison, mysterious, Yolie.
Goodness.
Man, so much to talk about. I put out a little video earlier. I have to say, I keep shouting this guy out, and I'm going to keep shouting him out because literally, this is how I came across the breaking news because he's actually in the courtroom, the breaking news about. When the Dateline episode came out that night, I'm sitting there saying, how does this information get out? We're just as much the public as Dateline is. It doesn't matter what sources or how much money you have. We're just as public as Dateline is. And so how in the heck did they get this information that they were putting out on that documentary before the general public? There was something fishy all the way. And then also when we did the episode of Howard Bloom telling all, that's when he was kind of giggling and like, I'm just glad that they didn't put out the stuff that I didn't want them to put out. So there was a mixture of Bloom and some inside source, and it was kind of like what I brought up today, Yolie. I even think that, that this source was also, part of the investigation. Like I've always said, there was one person that their job was to put that information out there to the public through Banfield, News Nation. We got burned a few times, just all this stuff. And I even feel like Papa Rogers was part of that. That was before, because there was little teeny bits and pieces that was coming out, obviously, in the beginning. Just little teeny bits and pieces, that first month and a half that Banfield was saying sources close to the investigation, but it wasn't very much. And it was at a minimal because their press conferences were at a minimal. But Papa Rogers was always very direct on the evidence and the events and the timeline and how it happened and all this. And so I always feel like that was the first initial part of the operation for that individual, was to start off in message boards, get the topic used to people, oh yeah, that's right, I did read that somewhere. And then it pops up on News Nation, and all of a sudden, oh gosh, yeah, whoa, hold on a minute, this guy's guilty as hell. But with the Dateline stuff, that was like really dangerous.
Well, I was wondering because I was thinking to myself, how, like, never before seen footage of the car and never before seen pictures from Brian Koberger's phone. And I'm thinking to myself, if it's never been seen before, that's likely that it's sealed and it shouldn't be out, or this information is not going to be used as evidence and they're just putting it out there to taint the jury pool.
I don't know how that wouldn't be used as evidence. The video from
Oh, the video, yes, of the
you know
car.
what
Yeah,
yeah.
but
Well,
the hoodie,
that's
the
the
black
thing.
hoodie
Oh,
picture.
no, the pictures,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they're going to be used in the trial too,
Mm.
right?
I would
Just
reject those pictures. They show nothing.
no, but I think they're going to use them because
Well,
they're going to have to try and
it's too
because
prejudicial.
they don't. You think so? They don't
Yeah.
have the weapon. You know what I'm saying?
Well, he was talking about a knife, putting a knife in for example, a knife. He said, the judge.
Well, yeah.
I
I mean, did you think that it was some other like they really found the knife? Because when I was like, oh my gosh, people are reaching. Because
Yeah.
like when I first heard it, I was like, yes, they need the knife to show people this is the right, this is the sheath that we found. This is part of the crime scene. This is where BK's DNA is. This duplicate knife, same model, is to show you that this knife, yes, the same knife, the same model of knife that BK bought on Amazon is the same model that goes into this sheath, ladies and gentlemen. That's how I took it.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was like, oh, they found the knife and didn't
No.
tell anybody.
That's how I took it too. It was
like,
just funny because he said the knife, and I knew people were going to say, oh, did they find the knife?
all you got to do is think, but this is the thing that I wanted to ask you the most, because during the court hearing today, I was like, when are they going to address this Dateline and this information that got put out there? Because I've been saying it was a violation of the gag order from the beginning, because it is. Like, seriously, it is. When did we see that video? When did we see these pictures? And you know damn well they're going to use that video. They're gonna. It's part of their timeline that they're going to present. And so this is what I wanted to ask you. Is that an opportunity where somebody could have tainted evidence before a trial, where they will not be able to use that evidence in trial because Dateline tainted the evidence?
Well, it goes to chain of custody in terms of, okay, so that video was a part of a surveillance camera, and presumably the law enforcement officers got that video as a part of their investigation. Presumably there's a chain of custody where the owner of that camera, the ring camera, gave it to the police as a chain of custody, and the police put it where it's in a safe place. But now it's been either disseminated through copying it, or I'm not sure how Dateline got a copy of it, but it was checked out per se.
None
you
of
know
that.
how you check out evidence? It was checked out by a third party. So even though law enforcement is the one who leaked it, they took it out of law enforcement's hands and gave it to Dateline.
A patsy.
Yeah. So it seems like if I were the attorney, I would object on the grounds that the chain of custody has been broken now, and they shouldn't be able to use video. But I don't know. I mean, he wanted the two attorneys, the prosecution and the defense, he ordered them to preserve evidence, which means they cannot disseminate evidence. They have to preserve it. They can't do anything to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Only what's been out in the court documents. That's it. People have been asking for all sorts of stuff, and they've never got it.
Yeah.
Because it's sealed, right? And so there has to be a patsy then, somebody that was automatically going to take the fall for it. Because it was not the defense. Why would the defense put out screenshots, him looking like Bundy, his phone records, his search history on YouTube, the songs he was listening to, when he was listening to them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And especially the video, not just the video of the car leaving, the videos of every team, even the turnaround, the 3-point turn, which we've never seen before Dateline. So it wasn't just a little teeny bit. This was a lot.
Yeah.
And so when I seen that, and I'm like, wow, this is a violation. Number two, I couldn't wait to bring you on to ask you, could that taint evidence? Because in my opinion, potential juror members already saw it. They already saw this.
And so the test, and this is why in his order, I read his order about how this is going to make it more difficult for the court to find non-biased jurors, because Dateline is such a wide disseminated, show. It's on literally mainstream media. It's not like a YouTube channel that just talks about whatever. It's like mainstream. And so he wrote in his order that this is going to make it more difficult to find non-biased jurors, because the test is, it's not whether you've heard of the case, it's whether can you put whatever you heard about the case aside and just look at the evidence that comes from the witness stand. And there's a lot of people now who are probably going to want to be on this jury. So they got a built-in some kind of,
Ain't that crazy though? Shortly before jury selection,
and shortly before the jury questionnaires go out to the public, in that area. So whoever did this, Dateline said law enforcement, so I don't know.
Could this delay the trial, and could it move to another location? Because now, how are you supposed, what? I'm arguing for both sides. What if this dude we haven't seen trial yet. What if trial shows this dude is guilty and he gets off because of this BS? Or if he isn't guilty, how is he supposed to have a fair trial? Dateline.
And
it's more than clicks and views, man.
Yeah, those photographs of the people at the Grove, the ladies at the Grove, and the photographs of him in a hoodie, I would say, if I were the defense, I would be totally objecting to those coming into evidence.
Oh yeah.
They want to do this pattern. They want to go back and do this pattern that he had this fixation on women, and that he hated women, and that he was obsessed with women, but yet he couldn't have them, and so he wanted to unalive them. And that's the whole incel theory. But in terms of an incel, I mean, this guy got a woman's number at a pool party.
She gave it to him. You know what I'm saying? And when she starts off with that, she's like, this was just typical behavior of a PhD student. Like
nothing.
Yolie, you're a female. What was you go out on you go to a pool party, Yolie, and you start talking to this guy about hiking, and then he texts you the next day. What is disrespectful or odd about that text message that he sent her? I mean, as a female, seriously.
Nothing.
Right.
I wouldn't take it. He's just trying to start up something, and he never texted her back.
What about this? Don't females like persistent men? Isn't that a good sign for a guy to text you the next day and be like, hey, we talked about this, let me know, and then he never texts you again? That's like, hey,
well, that would be a better question for a guy, because I don't know, but he was not obsessive with her. He was not obsessive with her. Like he didn't
attack her.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Just
and
like
the hiking thing. The other guy, that guy with the hair, with the curly hair, the DJ. The guy with the curly hair. He said that he saw. Yeah. Right. He said that he saw Brian Koberger going up the hiking trail at night in dawn. Well, that just supports what he does. Ooh. I don't know why this was such
oh my gosh, right? Oh, it's also, every single person in that documentary that was interviewed was suggestive. The one that the girl that had him come over to do the video cameras, that's suggestive too. It's because was it proven that he stole the letter and items? Was it proven that he broke into her house and moved things? Was it proven for any of that? No.
And then
And
she
in
had a
fact,
crush on him.
yeah, and he backed away from her. So why would somebody? Oh my gosh, he's so creepy. How could he be creepy when he backed away from you and the one that was on him?
And so these people, these psychologists that go on the Dateline and talk about this,
Yeah,
he says because
Oh,
she
my Lord.
wasn't the type of person that he wanted to envision himself with. She did, in other words, she was Asian, probably.
That was rude too, because
That was rude. I mean, I don't know. We don't know what was in Brian Koberger's head.
No, that's why Bricado and Bloom are in the same category, in my opinion. He was the one that predicted Koberger before Koberger, and then we went and watched the episode, and it was nothing about Koberger. I'm like, and then anyway, I'm not going to get into a rant about that. But it was, I don't know. It just has me concerned with this Dateline episode. It was, the people that were on there that were interviewed, even Bloom, Bricado, the witnesses, or the people that experienced interactions with Koberger, all of them together, it was all suggestive. It really is. None of it was actual factual. And then when you're looking at the evidence right there, that's what really has me concerned, whether he's guilty or not. And that's what trial's for. But that's what has me concerned either way, because again, I'd hate to see somebody get off because of a technicality on tainted evidence. We always refer to OJ. Hello, how did he get off? Tainted evidence, that's how it started, and then it went into other stuff. But really, tainted evidence, mishandling of evidence is where it really started.
Well, now that this evidence that has been sealed was transferred to a third party.
Who else has it?
Who else has it? Was it modified? Were those photographs of Brian Koberger tweaked to make him look more sinister? I don't know. I mean, and who knows? I mean, it's the integrity of the investigation and the evidence that's been pierced. It's like literally been pierced. And for the judge to say that, he's doing an order of preservation, meaning you cannot do anything with that evidence. You cannot copy it. You cannot do anything with it. You must preserve it and not disclose it to anybody. So he's further making that order, and he said he's open to having a special prosecutor investigate to do subpoenas, because it is it's as much as we don't like the court's rulings, we have to follow them. I mean, as much as I don't like when I'm ruled against, I have to follow it. You can't just go around acting like the court rules don't mean anything. You might disagree with them, but that's the law. You have to follow.
It would be like me. There's stuff that I turn over that nobody even knows anything about. You know what I'm saying? And that would be like me putting the shit out there. Like, that's so disrespectful of anybody that's involved and affected, seriously, because that type of activity can ruin the justice of victims.
Well, yeah, and I don't know if any family members are privy to any evidence and whether or not anybody's disclosed that. But it makes the case more complicated, and it's harder for the court and the attorneys to pick a non-biased jury when they see this thing on Dateline. And Dateline is a pretty reputable, program. So
yeah,
I just don't. The fascination with Brian Koberger in this case, even I mean, that they go into his mind already when he has not said a word.
Because because people listen. That's why there's a difference between somebody like me or us and those people. we're going to talk the truth. If something smells like shit, we're going to tell you it smells like shit. And these people, even on these social media platforms, these people that are trained to think that law enforcement was 100 fucking percent true, that's where you're getting it from. The people that think that there's no way that law enforcement could have fucked this up, that's the same people that are putting out the narrative. That's the same people that have those bigger voices, because those are the voices that get promoted, because that's the message that wants to get promoted. But it's people like here where we're like, no,
Yeah, there's
no,
no.
it doesn't smell right. You know what I'm saying? That's why I highlight Kevin Fixler. That's where everybody, this is where I got the breaking news about the judge doing it. That's where everybody on social media gets their breaking news. So follow Kevin Fixler on Twitter. I'm telling you, he drops it right away. The dude is professional. He's about integrity. Watch him on the crime courtroom confidential episode from yesterday. You will hear the integrity in his words when it comes to his responses and what he thinks. And it's the same thing. He understands they can be corrupt, even if it's 1%. We're talking about 1 fucking percent because Moscow, Idaho is 1% of the United States or less. Come on.
Yeah, and there's a presumption of innocence for all defendants in the United States, but there is no presumption that law enforcement did their job right. There's no presumption. The jury is not going to get some kind of instruction that says you must presume that law enforcement did everything right. No, it's the opposite. It says you must presume that the defendant is not guilty until shown otherwise, So the presumption doesn't go toward law enforcement. So we can question law enforcement every day of the week because, after all, taxpayers pay law enforcement. I don't live in Moscow, Idaho, but the public does. And the public needs to know how people are being prosecuted. Because if your taxpayer money is going to prosecute an innocent person, I think taxpayers want to know about that. And I'm not saying that Brian Koberger is innocent or guilty because I have no idea. My mind goes into different places, but
Me too.
he has the presumption of innocence.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just for the jury. That's people think, that's just for the jury. They're going to get instructed. No, that's the law. That's the Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't like it, then why are you here?
Right.
If you want to go and talk trash and say, no, we think he's guilty, we know he's guilty before.
We're not even in trial. Yeah, right. We haven't even got jury selection yet. How can everybody be so sure? That's the thing. That's why I say, look, I talk about the stuff that doesn't make sense, but I also say, look, once trial comes and if the evidence shows me he's guilty as hell, I will be the first one to stand up and say, guilty as hell. It's not about him specifically. It's not about him being innocent for sure. What it's about these victims getting the true justice, and that's the right person being convicted for the crime, not somebody that is put in place. And when you're talking about the evidence, we saw the latest document about the IGG being exempt from disclosure.
Yeah, that was a jury. So what that was the jury instruction to the jury about the tip. So they crafted a jury instruction to be given to the jury, and they cannot disclose that IGG tip. Period.
That's BS.
I've researched it, and it appears that in most cases the IGG doesn't come into evidence. And I think CeCe Moore was talking about it. She has been called, but she's never been called to testify at trial because normally it never comes in.
It's an art, not a science.
But and that's why it doesn't come in. And it's an investigative tool. Right.
So the tip is good enough, Yolie. The piece of paper that we've been talking about this whole time that said Brian Koberger on it, and they handed it to him. That piece of paper is good enough.
So So yeah, so if there isn't anything wrong with what the, so here's my point. I know what the law is, and I know that it would never come in the IGG because it's not reliable. It wouldn't pass muster to,
You could argue it. You could
Yeah.
definitely argue it. That's why I said
Yeah.
it was never important in
So
this trial.
so the experts aren't going to testify as to the IGG. But here's the thing. It's not for the truth of the matter that the IGG identified him. It's for the fact that the FBI violated their policies. And if they're going to violate their policies, what else are they going to do? I mean, but there's an argument to be said, like a nurse that's at a hospital who violates a policy to save someone's life. Okay, she successfully saved someone's life, but the policy says you're not to do that. But she saved someone's life. They're going to get grace. Okay, so the FBI, by violating this, they're saying we got the right guy. Okay, it doesn't matter. It was an investigative tool. We got the right guy. So this would the buccal swab eventually have been gotten from Brian Koberger? And the answer they say is yes, but we don't know that. I mean, I find it strange that the Washington State University police officers, Tanego and Whitman, that they called. It was early on in November. They called and told the Moscow Police Department that they had a tip because it was somebody with a white elantra and bushy eyebrows. So constructively, did Moscow, Idaho have that information? Constructively, they did. But whether they followed up on it or not is another story. But Brett Payne says he didn't know until the 19th of December.
Yeah. That's why I asked. That's why I brought up the idea like a week or two ago. Was it WSU that started the Brian Koberger narrative? Because I'm sitting there going, okay, you guys, this was before Moscow. You guys were looking for, it was supposed to be a 2011 to 2013. You come across to 2015. Why would you call it in if it's not the specific year that they're looking for? You know what I'm saying?
There's motives all over the place for this guy to be destroyed. But whether or not he had dark fantasies and he did it, it's not my issue. The point is that the prosecution has to prove it. And when there's so many weird things around this case, it's weird. So the burglary. I wanted to bring that up. I don't know if right now is a good time or you want to start
I got a whole list of. We don't even have to show it. We can just talk about it. I have a whole list of stuff. So we can go
so in the hearing, because I had to rewatch it. I was working in the morning, but I watched it. So in the hearing, they talked about the victims being Dylan and Bethany, that they were victims of the burglary. Okay, and to an extent, yes, they were, because this person who they say is Brian Koberger entered into the property. And it's strange because you ask the question, like, why even bother, charging him with burglary? Well, because they have to show he entered the house, because they want to say that the killings happened in the house. So as a foundational point, he has to have gone in the house because Dylan saw him in the house. The people were killed in the house. So they gotta say, okay, he went in there without consent and he had the intent to commit a felony or do something else.
Yeah, murder.
He had his kill kit, right?
Yeah, he went in there to commit murder.
Yeah. So they gotta put him in
felony.
The house.
That's a felony all there.
But they got to put him in the house, and that's the burglary charge. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, get this darn house, this model. Why don't you point where Brian Koberger entered the model? And they're going to say it was through the sliding glass back door, but we don't know that unless there's video. And I'm open. If there's video,
I always thought there was video from 11/26, but this is what's crazy. It's already a felony to commit a murder. Okay, it's already a felony. So why do you need a burglary charge?
You got to show me.
You did. He fucking went in there to kill him. What? Like you need to like
Show the
well,
proof of him entering.
well, Your Honor, he went to go steal some toilet paper first. I mean,
This
you
is why I
gotta
say, well, see,
you,
the burglary is a aggravator, meaning for the death penalty, they can say, hey, look, this is aggravation because he went in there, either he was lying in wait or he went in there, he broke in. So that's a bad thing.
right to
And
commit
same
him
thing with
fucking
stalking.
murder.
You don't think they would have charged him with stalking if there was stalking? Of course they would have, because that's an aggravator. They would say the stalking is an aggravator in support of the death penalty. He stalked this house. There's no stalking charges by Idaho, by Idaho state or federal law. So right now, everybody thinks he's stalking, and he was basically, now they're saying surveilling, planning. But you know what? The prosecution, they're using that video that we can't see of the stop, the one on August. They're using
Yeah.
that video to say it was his person and his car, like to identify him and his car. But in the paperwork, because I thought they would be using it for planning, meaning he was planning this crime and in the area. No, they didn't use it for that. But in the paperwork, it says, the judge says it can also be used for planning this and that. No, okay, that's not what the state is using it for. And he puts it in there because that's one of the reasons you can use something like that for. And I thought they would use it for that, but they didn't. And the judge is here saying, okay, yeah, planning. They got everybody brainwashed that he was surveilling and stalking them, and they just can't get that word out of their house.
And this is why I've been asking and bringing up, could the burglary charge affect the trial? Could it affect the trial in a negative way? Because that's why I've been saying, who even, like, you're already charging him for 4 murders. Dude, you're gonna be there the rest of your life regardless, right? If you're found guilty. But hold on. But if you add burglary and something like you're talking about where they can't prove the stalking, they can't prove any of the other stuff that's supposed to support all of this burglary, well then what if that backfires and all of a sudden he only has to settle for manslaughter because of the burglary charge effing everything up? That's where I'm coming from.
Yeah, no, that wouldn't change the murder charges because they're not charging him with the lesser included of manslaughter. They're not charging him with that.
So the burglary, there's no way that if they can't prove the burglary, there's no way that can have a negative effect on the charges of the murders, because when it comes to the victim's justice, I care about the murders. I don't care about the damn stealing toilet paper. You know what I mean?
My answer to that, and it's not from a criminal defense standpoint, and I will totally defer to a criminal defense attorney, but my point regarding this from a civil attorney standpoint is you got to prove certain things, elements, right? There's jury instructions, and the jury instructions say you have to prove certain elements, okay? You got to prove first in order that he entered that house, okay? Not that some guy with a mask and bushy eyebrows entered the house, but that Brian Koberger entered the house.
How do they prove that when they don't even know how he entered or left?
The method and manner of entry is not important, but they do have to prove where he entered. That, at least that's my understanding when I went over it.
Where did he enter? Where do you,
we could have entered from the
1126 camera that Steve G refers to that has a straight shot at the house, where they could see them taking out the puppy and they could see them coming inside. And remember all those stories? 1126 is the camera. Shout out,
Well, so that they have to prove the burglary first, as in my opinion, because if they can't place him at the house or entering the house, then how are they going to prove he killed him in the house?
How do they even prove? And that's one besides the IGG, because I always said, look, it's going to be the least important, because in trial, if it was introduced, it would be totally shredded with doubt because it's an art, not a science. When it comes to the burglary stuff, if they can't prove it, which how would they prove it? Because when you're looking at what's been leaked out from Dateline, how does this prove anything?
Doesn't. I mean, there are pictures of his phone that are people that are over there at the Grove, women. Okay. Okay. If I looked at my husband's phone, I'm sure I'd probably find women on there. I would hope so, and not men. But you know what I mean?
Well, but
how does that
here's-
prove everything that they put out is sort of circling around? It's like, put him in the house first. Put him in the house. Because if you don't put him in the house, how will you prove that he killed them in the house? He had to have entered. And so I don't know why they made the burglary charge, because it's an aggravator that he broke into the house, breaking and entering with the intent to commit a felony. I don't know how they go into.
How can they prove that though? Because
I don't know.
a video from 11/26 doesn't prove that was him either. You know what I mean? So it's like, he didn't have anything of the victims. There was no connection to the victims in his possession, not even DNA. So to me, it's like, how can you prove this burglary? And that's why I feel like, why even have done the burglary when you could have just done the 4 murders? Because if dude happens to if he is guilty, if the dude happens to be able to take a lesser charge, or the dude somehow is able to get off because they can't even prove that, why isn't it easier to prove that he could? Okay, this is my main question. Isn't it easier for them to prove that he committed the crime with the evidence that they're using than him committing a burglary?
Well, a lot of people think a burglary is stealing something. And in other states, the statute might read like that, or it might have a different definition. But burglary in Idaho is basically breaking and entering with the intent to commit a felony.
Right, which is murder.
Yeah, in this case, yeah.
So how do you prove that?
I'm not sure. And I don't know how the defense is going to prove it, or actually the prosecution is going to prove it, because unless there's something sealed that shows somebody who even looks similar to Brian Koberger entering the house and not leaving, but entering. I mean, we have Dylan that says she saw a man walking toward the sliding glass door. Okay, that's not entering. That person could have been in the house regardless. That person could have been in the house all day.
And walk back upstairs after, walk back.
The entry. So you don't need somebody walking past you and you don't know if he left or not, but you run downstairs. No, you need to show the entry. So I don't know. In my opinion, and I'm not a criminal defense attorney, and I could be schooled by a criminal defense attorney any day of the week, but I would start with point where Brian Koberger entered that property. Point to it.
It just,
and what would they say? They would say, our theory is that he entered through the sliding glass door. And what is your theory based on? And then if they say video evidence, whatever, but I don't know that answer. It's sealed.
What about Bethany Funk's exculpatory evidence according to Jay Loxton? What if that says that it was a female that she saw leaving during that time? Again, how do you prove? So to me, it was like, why even add the burglary to it when really you got to
think. If they added the burglary to it, they want you to believe that the crimes happened in the home. So they need to establish that before the murders occurred, because how could the murders have occurred if he didn't enter the house? Did they occur somewhere else? I mean, how could the murders occur? They had to have occurred because he entered the house. Was he let in with consent? That's not what burglary is. So we can rule that out. The burglary charge says he broke into their house. He entered without consent and had felonious a felonious mind state that he was going to do something. So they have to show.
Don't they have to prove that mind? Don't they have to prove that mind state too?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Why even add the burglary? To me, that sounds.
See, they can't just say he's charged with murder at this house, because the stepping stones to the murder in the house has to show that he got into the house. Otherwise, did he get in? Was he a resident there? See, if he was a resident there, a roommate that unalived his other roommates, there would be no burglary charge because he's allowed to be there. He's a roommate. But because they're saying that Bryan Kohberger traveled from Washington State University all the way over to this house and actually walked in there and committed the unalivings in the house, they have to have that he entered the house. Otherwise, how could he unalive the students? Well, was he like he had to have entered in the house. That's why I say he's the invisible man. He's the invisible man. Nobody.
He's not. He's not warping through walls like Quantum Leap. He's not doing that. And then also, this is another thing. Like they're gonna have the hearing for the alternate suspects. They've given them some time, June 8th, or wait, when is it? June 18th.
Yeah.
They're going to have that hearing for the alternate suspects for them to present it. It's not like they didn't have it. The judge, I think, was just discussing that they had more time.
Well, he said that so there's two things he said. He said, I got the information, the allegations, which allegations are just written, something written that talks about who these alternate perpetrators are and why they're alternate perpetrators. It's like a document. So he said, I see the allegations, but you got to provide the proof of the allegations. And he said that was one part of it. He said, so I'm still lacking in that proof. And then he said, the second thing, you got to show whether that proof is admissible into evidence. If it's hearsay, it has to have an exception to be admitted. So it was a twofold thing. So, and he kind of said, basically what I see is that you might have some problems with admissibility, meaning there has to be standards for it to be admitted. So what the defense filed is basically allegations. There's just something that says these are the alternate suspects. And
it could be it could be a different car model that was leaving the scene of the crime. It could have been, it could have been DNA dirty gloves. Yeah, they're supposed to file the name of the person and the proof that they are an alternative suspect. But I've always wondered, like, the whole alternative suspect. I always thought it had to do with Bethany Funk's exculpatory evidence, according to Jay Logston, and why they wanted to interview her down in Arizona, Nevada, in the very beginning, because they said that she had exculpatory evidence. She had her own unique experience that night that was exculpatory for Bryan Kohberger, and so I've always felt it had something to do with that.
So here's the thing that I don't understand, and I'm not a criminal defense attorney, but I would totally be pointing this out if I was a criminal defense attorney. I would say, look, Bethany Funk's statement was not used in the probable cause affidavit. Why? Why was Bethany Funk's statement not used? Why was Dylan's used? If Bethany Funk has exculpatory evidence and it's shown at trial when she testifies that she had exculpatory evidence, then the police were hiding her statement.
Right.
And they were preventing the defense from getting her statement because they went ahead with the grand jury, where Bethany Funk testified. And I don't know if you noticed, but there was a retraction. I guess the prosecution filed some document to retract certain things from the grand jury to reclaim the testimony. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, because it's I mean, why would they make that up, Yoli? You know what I mean? Like, they're professionals. You're not gonna you're not you're also not gonna say something about your opposition in court because you're a professional. You're not gonna say that stuff. You're not gonna come up and say in court, you're not gonna say, uh that witness has exculpatory evidence if you don't have some shit that you can prove that you are know what you're putting in them documents. Why would you even file it? That's career suicide, isn't it? To file some
Um,
shit like that when you don't, like, they have to have, and it has to be a witness statement. It's like I said, it was the first papers on top of the pile. They didn't have to spend hours looking through a video. They didn't have to. It was the very top pieces of paper, the witness statements.
yeah, and it's I guess for probable cause, that's like one of the lowest standards. Um, Reasonable suspicion is underneath that. But at some point, when you learn the real facts, I mean, there might be probable cause to arrest somebody, but when there's real facts that come out, like, what do you do with them? You have to turn them over to the defense. I mean, the prosecution can't just keep information, and it's so unfortunate that Dateline accepted this information from who they say is law enforcement. They said it was law enforcement, and they put it out there because this is stuff that was on Brian Koberger's phone, part of it.
He
And
said that they had peop he said that they had people showing them
yeah,
the information when it comes to the timeline and the records and all this. They had people show them. Like,
uh-huh. So I don't know if you caught this part, but when he was talking about covert, the prosecution was talking about covert witnesses, people who are undercover. He
mhm,
said, could we provide them just with the voice, not with anything? He said,
right.
if they weren't undercover in this case, then no, I'm going to be inclined to let them testify. And that's pretty dangerous. That's a dangerous thing to say because a lot of criminals are watching this trial. They see this guy on the stand and he's an undercover agent in another thing, and he's exposed. So so I did look up the jury instruction for how the jury is instructed with regard to a confidential informant, and there is a specific jury instruction for that. Uh, but that's not what's going to happen with the IGG. They made some special instruction. But why the jury instructions in this case are sealed is beyond me. These are like public. They're in a book.
Right.
All you got to
Right.
do is insert the defendant's name. If you believe that BK did, blah, 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 broke and entered into the house without consent and with the felonious intent, I don't know why they're sealed. I mean, I could see why the special jury instruction was sealed, but why seal jury instructions? It's like they're on the Idaho State Court website.
It's frustrating, isn't it?
It is. It's hard to follow, and I swear sometimes it makes me just want to just
You question reality, don't you?
yeah.
You go like this sometimes. Am I asleep right now? Is this really
I'm
happening?
not going to be gaslighted. Somebody tries to gaslight me. I'm sorry. They're going to get.
Well, that's what has been going on. I mean, that's why even Steve G, as much as he thinks
Oh,
BK did it, he is upset with the sealing of everything. Even him.
you know what?
You know what I'm saying?
I don't even know if he knows what he's saying. I mean, he may hear things and filter it, through how he understands it, but he's just. I mean, I don't know. I have no idea.
Well, and then also, didn't they bring up about Bethany and Dylan being able to just have audio too, where their faces weren't being? Why? They're adults. We've seen their faces all these years. We've. I want to see the real tears, Yoli.
Yeah,
I don't want to hear what I heard on the 911 call. I want to see your face.
yeah. So he talked about their protection, and that's probably not going to fly only because, like you say, we've seen them. But they may have. Okay, so if this judge says you can only hear their voices, I would, as the defense attorney, I would jump up and down and say, absolutely not. They need to see the facial expressions. They need to look at the
Yes.
credibility. They need to.
Yes.
I would just not shut up. I would jump up and down. No. They need to come, just like they did at the grand jury. There was no special people. I mean, there was no special screen to keep them. No. So I would say yes, they need to go in there and testify. And I don't know, like honestly, what
They're
like, I can't handle that
witnesses.
shit with the 911 call and the whole screaming. I can't. Just like when they talked about Ethan's calves or legs being.
Yeah.
I can't like those things. It's just like, it's gonna turn me on. Like, can't listen to that.
Well, I wasn't even taking it there, Yolie.
No.
I know.
But what you were saying is, basically, they need to testify. These girls, even if what they have to say is graphic.
I need to see if the tears are real.
Yeah.
I need to. The public needs to. When it comes to the 8 hours and nothing but being on social media for 8 hours, not calling. I mean,
well, the thing is that it's a distraction to me.
they're adults.
Yeah, it's a distraction because the person on trial is Brian Koberger. So what is the evidence proving that Brian Koberger did it? That's the issue. What the roommates did is sort of a collateral issue. Maybe it could be used to cause reasonable doubt, but again, the judge is going to say they're victims. They are victims.
Well, when it comes to that, I can't wait until Kathy Mabbitt is on the stand. When it comes to the types of injuries, I can't wait until Kathy Mabbitt is on the stand.
Yeah, and
that's going to tell a lot, everybody.
One of the things that the judge said that really kind of what's that, Yolie-Yo-Law? Do you think the hearing will ever get released to the public to see? Oh, the hearing that they had this morning about the release? I don't know.
I don't think so.
But I will say this. The way things are being filed, some things are sealed, some things are not. The judge has control over it, and why the declaration or the affidavit of Cy Ray was not sealed is beyond me, because anything alleging prosecutorial misconduct was filed under seal. Remember those hearings of prosecutor? It was all filed under seal. So who knows who's deciding? I mean, I'm confused with the sealing. So I bet you Dateline's going to say, well, we don't know. I mean, look, things were being filed left and right, and it looks like the gag order is not in place. And so that's what they're going to say. But for me, I question every single bit of this case because it's never made sense.
No, it never has. Even how long it took them to have a press conference for the first time. So I don't know. I mean, I think that people need to be able to testify, and especially the witnesses.
Yeah, but I do agree though that I'm probably one of the only people who agree that the 911 call should have been sealed for a time being, only because people's emotions are going crazy and they might family members might go after the roommates, and I mean, you don't know, because the 911 call. That 911 call is still under seal.
Yeah, the audio. But yeah, I understand, like, if it's undercover or something, hey, audio only, you can alter the audio, kind of like what they do on like the TV shows where when they have them and they alter their audio, just show a silhouette or something. I'm not even worried about a silhouette. You know what I mean? Just alter we just need to hear the words, the testimony. But the witnesses,
they have no problem testifying at the grand jury. I understand they're going to be nervous or whatever, but he did say that, if the people want protection because they're nervous or they don't, he's going to have to really think about that. But no, these are main witnesses. Okay, Dylan is the only one who saw the intruder. So she needs to testify.
They better. They're witnesses, both of them.
They have to. And the jury gets to decide their credibility, how they talk, how they process information,
the 8 hours,
all of that, because it goes to reasonable doubt. Now, I'm not accusing the roommates of anything, but it goes to the fact that maybe it doesn't go to reasonable doubt, because they could still find that Brian Koberger was guilty, but he had assistance, and these people who assisted him are not on the jury verdict. So, it's sort of a crazy situation. And if he's talking about a special prosecutor, the judge now, about this Dateline leak, it's not good.
The first instinct when you're talking about the 8 hours, this, I'm just speaking from my opinion. When you're talking about the 8 hours, all right, you're talking about the cleaned up footprint, all right. When you're talking about just a sheath that was tucked, when you find out that whole 8 hours, people were up, living and breathing and moving around and contacting and had access to communication for 8 hours, my first instinct, if I'm investigating a crime, my first instinct is these roommates knew something.
And one possibly has exculpatory evidence, which they chose not to use in the PCA.
It's crazy. And then this is another interesting thing from the court hearing, and I was very disappointed in it too. The model of the house is not to scale.
No, it's not.
Isn't that unfortunate?
Well, there's law, so here's where the law comes in. It's not even, the law says that, demonstrative evidence, like what they're going to use they're going to use this model house. It doesn't have to be exact. And this is law, okay? That is in the books, which we can disagree with every day of the week, but it is law in Idaho, and so the judge has to follow the law.
I'm not talking law, Yolie. I'm talking
common sense.
I'm talking effort. I'm talking compassion. I'm talking about if this really is the person. I'm talking about making sure that you can do what you can do to present your case in a way that displays the most correct factual information in something as little as a model house. You ain't got architects at the University of Idaho. You don't have alum that are architects that couldn't make a frickin' model, something that they made in the first year of their architectural schooling.
Well, the interesting thing is that the FBI built this house. The FBI has intricate knowledge of this house, so that's why they were able to build it. And that's what I would argue. I would say
intricate knowledge.
I would say, who in the FBI built this house? And that's who I want to talk to. And what kind of knowledge did you have about this house? I would just go at him. But the law, and I read it, the law is...
I get it. I understand that.
It doesn't make sense.
I'm talking from the heart. If I was on a prosecution team and it was my job to do that, and I'm thinking about the case, and I'm thinking about the justice, and I'm thinking about the victims, which it all should be, then I'm sitting there going, you know what, I'm going to make this house as close as possible so I could make sure and I wouldn't be doing it if I wasn't an expert at it. When you're talking all the way up there, I'm gonna make sure that because listen, the house is gone. I want the jury to know and feel it as close as possible as they can.
And
for it,
here's what I want to know. If the jury wants to see the scene, I want to know what they're going to tell the jury in regards to the fact that it's destroyed.
they're going to put on the VR headsets.
No, not even. They're going to use the model. It's just nuts. It's like there are crime scenes that have been kept like forever.
Yeah. Oh, everybody that is common sense, even Confidential Courtroom in his episode last night, they brought it up, and he's like, "Dude, no." Like they were, him and Fixler were both like, it doesn't make sense.
No, but if I were the defense, I wouldn't care, because my position is Brian Koberger was never in that house. That house is irrelevant.
Oh
yeah. If you're the defense, but the prosecution, come on.
Yeah, the defense, that's way farther away from you getting from the jury putting your client. If they still had the house and the jury was taken there, they could put Koberger there even more, like way more. You're right. They don't have the house. That's less that you can put Koberger there, like just subconsciously as a jury member.
No, of course. That's why you don't want that. But a lot of these jurors who have gone to the scene of the crime, it helped them determine guilt.
Yeah.
In other words, it helped them determine,
because they subconsciously have that thought in their mind, and
they're also able to look at distances and things. And if the juror were to go out to that house and look and see that there's no way these roommates could have not known what's going on. There's reasonable doubt here. I don't know. We're gonna acquit him, and that's why that's why I don't understand why the prosecution did it or agreed to it. I understand why the defense did, but I don't understand. I almost feel like the prosecution wants this case to just die. Like he won't go to trial, like the law enforcement leaking this information. I mean, what kind of stupidity is that?
It's because
like, do you want him to get off?
It's more to them. It's more about the quantity and not quality. Really, and if you break it all down to the minimal, it's about quantity over quality up there. They don't give a shit what kind of quality it is, as long as it's enough.
Yeah, I don't know, but this special prosecutor thing is kind of a serious thing if he appoints one.
Well, I hope so. And then the sources close to the investigation stuff. What if I just don't understand it? It's like the biggest, and this goes with everything. It goes with the evidence handling. It goes with the timeline. It goes with the route to the crime scene. It goes to the leaks. It goes to all. It's the most profiled case and will be, and it's the most messed up one where there's just crap everywhere. Well, there's just junk laying everywhere because it's been like every aspect of it, the leaks, the information, all of it, the route, the 3-point turnaround. If you stalked the crime scene and you studied it, then how in the hell do you even come up to a 3-point turn, Yolie? I mean, all of it.
Yeah, and so the I don't know what this is what I don't understand. It's sort of a no-brainer. You're gonna give Dateline information that is sealed. You don't think anything's gonna happen about that? You don't think the judge is not gonna take notice? You don't think, I mean, there's an order that says law enforcement can't give out that information. So what do? They violate the order.
Somebody's a patsy.
So what do they want to do? They want to make I'm not sure what they want by doing this. And whoever law enforcement is, perhaps they wanted it leaked. They know
Yeah.
Brian. They may know that Brian didn't do it, and they're leaking it to cause all these problems in the case where Brian will be exonerated or not prosecuted, and then the case
Yeah.
will never be solved. And the real killers will go wherever they go.
Yeah. They just like in that case where they charged somebody for a death penalty, they got off, and then they said, "Oh, well, we're sorry that they don't agree, but we're not going to go like that." It's not. It's never been about somebody getting convicted because if they can have the case ruined by leaks and by a patsy, then you know what they can say. Look, we really tried, and this is the person. We're sorry. We're just going to go on and move on and forget.
And
They always do it.
this, there was a federal investigation into Brian Koberger. And Detective Mowry did talk about that, about the stalking. There was a grand jury subpoenaed because Brian Koberger was erroneously served with a grand jury subpoena. And that's how his defense counsel heard of it. So she started asking for it, and nothing became of that grand jury. They didn't indict him. I mean, I don't know if they can still indict him. Maybe they can, but he hasn't been indicted for stalking. There's no stalking charge. There's just the burglary charge and the foreign aliving. So quit focusing on the stalking, because the white car around the neighborhood, the white car isn't going to enter into the house for the burglary. It has to be the person. So I don't care what kind of white car was driving around or green car, whatever. You show me that Brian Koberger entered that house per the burglary instruction. The point of entry, not necessarily the manner and method. I mean, he could have broke a window. He could have jimmied a lock. He could have done a lot of things. That doesn't matter. The point of entry. They have a witness seeing a person leaving or possibly leaving, but they don't have a witness that says this person entered. And if there's camera, then I will say yes. If there's a camera that shows him, then ooh, wow. Or even shows somebody who looks like him.
I'm just, I don't know. The more it seems like it's the same person. It's the same person from the beginning. It's the same person giving this information, because they can't have a bunch of people doing this, Yolie. That's why it always made sense to me from the beginning. It's the same person, Papa Rogers. It's the same person giving it to Banfield in the very beginning. It's the same person giving the information to Steve G. It's the same person giving the information to Bloom. It's the same person that is there. They're not going to have a bunch of people doing it, because then that totally shreds the investigation. But if there's one person that understands from the beginning that I am going to eventually take the fall whenever the public pressure or the pressure from enforcement, comes in this direction, I already understand that I'm going to take that one day, and it's my job to do this. And that's what I feel has taken place this whole time. It's one person doing it all. Doing it all. And they already know that they're going to be a scapegoat.
Right.
No, for real. Yeah. No, I'm serious.
So Busby says, CJ and Yolie, what do you both think about the judge saying he only wanted the lawyers that were talking to approach the bench and not the whole teams? Yeah, that's the problem I had in a trial that I had, is that the judge only wanted the attorney who questioned the witness to go up to sidebar. Well, the attorney who questioned the witness was a newbie. I couldn't go to the sidebar. It's very difficult, but that is something that they do, because, in my case, I had a newbie, but what if you have two experienced attorneys go up and they're just bombarding the judge? I mean, it needs to be one-on-one. You can't double, I mean, some judges might let you, but really the golden rule is just the person who questions the witness is the person who goes to the sidebar. You don't need the whole team. Yeah.
Well, I mean, one thing that from this court hearing is I really liked hearing the concern for the jurors from the judge.
About the sequestration and all that.
All of it. It was very down to earth and heartfelt for the jurors, and I appreciated that too, from the court, because it's nice to know. It really, even the thing like when they were talking about Holiday, and hey, it's not like they're gonna have a holiday. We might as well be here too. I like that. I like that because you're thinking about them, because it really it's about them. Um, so that was nice to hear. Um, but when it comes to just the information, I really hope that they open up. I hope they open up an investigation. I really feel like there needs to be one. I feel like the person, whether regardless if I feel like they already know that it's going to happen, I really feel like that person should be reprimanded for it, because this what if what if Koberger's guilty and he gets off, or what if he's not guilty? The fact we got, it's the victims, period. I don't care what person's getting charged, and that's, you just get farther away when stuff like that happens, and it's not right. It's not right for them.
It's not right, and the whole, I don't even know. I never knew that I would get involved in this kind of thing, but it's just kind of crazy that beginning with the probable cause affidavit, it just never sounded right. And it still doesn't sound right. And it's probably because there's a gag order. Maybe there's evidence we haven't seen. Maybe Brian Koberger is guilty of this, but we haven't seen it. But it sure looks like people are trying to paint him as a person who did it without first having the evidence that he did it.
Look at the Dateline episode.
I mean, you need the evidence that he did it in order to talk about it. So if you don't have the evidence, or you need some baseline, like Ted Bundy and BTK killer, oh my God, they talked and talked and talked about everything. Bundy wanted to represent himself. And I mean, these people, even Israel Keys, he talked. All these serial killers, which
egotistical.
Yeah, I've read a lot of I mean, geez, I would be, are you kidding me? I'd be a prime suspect. I mean, if they looked at what I've read in the 90s, all my books and all my searches and things like that, are you kidding me? I'm worse than Brian Koberger than what they showed. I mean, I've looked at stuff all the time. So all of that stuff is just kind of irrelevant because he was studying it. And that makes it even.
Go ahead. Oh, nothing. You were scaring us because you said that you could be a prime suspect. So if anybody got scared, you can ask Dr. CJ coming up, and I'll help you feel.
No, I'm not.
Sorry.
That's what Dr. Bricado might want to have. But anyway, it's just one of these things that I get. Look, I could say Brian Koberger is awkward. I get it. And you know what? He's probably super smart, and he's such a stickler for things, and people probably thought he was an ass. And I still think that somebody from WSU was somehow wanted him caught for something. And I mean, I don't know.
That's why I brought it up.
Yeah. But there's no room for speculation. All we have to say is that what happened at Dateline, we know what happened. Dateline said Ellie gave them the information. There's no.
With a little bit of bloom spice added on top.
Avocado spice.
Oh, some of his, it was so crazy, Yolie, when we were watching the episode where Steve G and Christy were on. Did you see that?
For the interview room?
Yeah, in the interview room.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I was watching it. I was watching it live, and We did a show on it too a few days ago, but I was watching it live and I was sitting there going, because I talk about Christy and how she just, you can tell that the only rope that she's holding on to, that she's only got a hold of, is BK being guilty. And if that frays and falls apart, you're worried. You know what I mean? Just listening to her stories and how she's having a hard time trying to make it. So when we were watching that episode, it was so beautiful because you could see this glow in her eyes, and it's like she's back. She's back to where she was a year and a half ago. You can see the glow and the energy and all these other things. And then Brucato jumps in, like he wasn't saying anything for a while, and he's sitting there just chilling back, and looking like Mo Simpson. And then all of a sudden he starts talking, and he starts comparing what happened to their daughter as she got destroyed. He used the word destroyed. When the killer came in and destroyed their future, I'm just like, dude, can you imagine? And you saw the glow in her eyes, and you guys can go watch it. Seriously, you can go watch the episode. It's very quick it's in the beginning of it, and once he jumps in and he says destroyed, and you see her face all of a sudden go from happy and perk to it's starting to droop and oh, you're on mute. And you could see the glow just fade away, and then she just started bawling.
Confused.
And I'm just like, what is this guy doing, man?
It's just whatever information they're getting, they may not be in the right mind to receive it, and they filter it through something that they want. And I seriously, I just
He reminds me of Long Island SK, Yolie.
Who does? Who?
Brucato.
No, he's just no. He's just a guy that loves psychology. He loves hearing himself talk.
I'm not saying that you're supposed to agree or not agree or anything, and I don't expect you to. I'm just saying I don't know. I just sit there and I watch him, and I'm just.
I would love to debate Dr. Brucato, because at the end of the day, he would have to say, "Yes, that's true." Yes, that's true. Yes, that's true. Because I would just get him. What he's saying is all theory, and he's never met Bryan Kohberger. He's never had a baseline to assess him. I mean, when people talk, Karen Reed, in the Karen Reed case, she's talked to so they have a baseline to assess her. Like, why is she talking about her case? She should shut up, But Bryan Kohberger has not talked. The only time we've seen him talk is tell the jury or tell the judge, okay, yes, I understand. Or when he's being stopped by the cops.
That's it.
I mean, do we have any other place where he's talking or where come on.
That's it.
He hasn't talked. So based on what his aunt said and what other people said, I said, yeah, he probably has OCD. And based on what the FBI said when they saw him with the trash and trying to figure out the trash, I thought, okay, yeah, I know. I get that. I know what that is. You don't want your dad's trash touching your mom's trash. You don't want your trash touching your dad's trash. This is in my head, and I don't want to get in trouble. I want this out of my house now because it's contaminated. That's probably what was going through his head. Mm-hmm. And the FBI think he's doing something like nefarious. And then he goes out to his car and he gets something, probably the greeny leafy thing to calm him down. I mean, because he's getting all worked up about the trash. That's what I saw always. I saw him getting so worked up.
Whoops. Yeah. There's a lot of phobias and tics. A lot of phobias and tics nowadays.
Well, if he has obsessive compulsive disorder, it's interfering with his life. If he has it, and it is interfering with his life, and it would interfere with his life, and it's sad. But I called that from the very moment that I called your show. The very first time I called your show 2 years ago, I said, this guy, and sure enough, he has it. And I'm not a psychologist. I'm not diagnosing anybody, but I did say he had OCD, and he does.
Yeah, that was one of the first times you called in.
I even thought maybe he was a cleaner. Maybe he went into the home to clean everything because he was so OCD, like that. But no, these people, the prosecution needs to get their case in order, and they have to start from the beginning. They have to show proof. Step one. Forget about whether he was surveilling the house. That has no evidentiary value because there's no stalking charge. Forget about that. First thing you show, he entered into the house. First thing. Second thing, he committed the unalivings. Third thing, he committed the unalivings with a certain weapon that matches the injuries of the people who passed away. And the other thing, there was a DNA on the knife sheath that was left at the scene or was there. Then you make your case if you have all the elements to prove it, right? But when you don't have the point of entry, you don't know who was in there because they just identified somebody with a mask and bushy eyebrows. And you don't know if really the knife that they allege that he was purchasing on Amazon is the knife that did the unalivings, then you're missing steps. It's like, give me the steps. I don't want to know about the white car driving around because the white car didn't kill anybody. The white car didn't unalive anybody. The white car could never unalive anybody. Neither could the sheath. The sheath could never unalive anybody. The only person who could have unalived those students is a person. And prove it to me that Brian Koberger entered into this house. That's all I ask.
I don't even think it was a white car that was leaving the crime.
I know, right?
You keep bringing up white car, and I'm like, well, that's, to me, that wasn't what.
This case gets me on fire. I'm telling you, when I have to prove up a case, it's from beginning to end. It's like you go, okay, the doctor did this, he did this, and this happened, and then the doctor. It's just very elemental. The expert says this should have been done and it wasn't done, and this is what happened. There's nothing else. There's no white car driving around the surgery room.
Well, I have a question. I know that you usually have stuff planned out months in advance. Is it looking like you'll be available at any point? Yeah, during the daytime when we're airing it live.
I'll know better as the summer comes. I can adjust mine.
Yeah, because I'm going to try and have a panel on every day. Some the same, some rotating, where we have a panel and we, instead of just me sitting there, because there's going to be plenty of breaks. There's going to be, opportunities to swing back, have our, sidebar commentary, and then swing right back over to and while we can all kind of discuss our notes, like a news crew or something, all discuss our notes during their intermissions. And I think it'd be neat for the trial, especially considering that we've all kind of been around here from the beginning.
I may, there are times when I'm hearing that, in these hearings, I just want to jump in and say, hey, listen to me, Mr. Hippler or Judge Hippler. Oh my God, he wasn't touching his face as much. He was better today, although the courtroom was somber.
Well, at least he's not stopping by Floyd's on the way like Judge John Judge would be. That's what he'd be doing. And then he'd do this too. He'd be like,
yeah, it's just either they're going to be able to prove it or not. And if they're hiding things, if the prosecution is hiding a video or the defense is hiding a video that shows that this Brian Koberger lookalike went into the house and came out and with his kill kit and adjusted everything. And I mean, okay, then I'll believe it. But right now, the way things are going, it just seems like a small, creepy town. Outsider came.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the outsiders that didn't change their license plate. He should have came across that video from that dude first, and then he would have known to change his license plate as soon as he moves in, because that's
that real estate guy.
Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. So yeah, I think we pretty much.
I think we covered everything.
Yeah, we pretty much covered everything. And then the weapon, we already discussed the weapon. That it's. Yeah, we did that in the intro. It's a display. And I put that video out earlier. Go ahead and check that out. And then also, you guys, let me drop Yoli's link. And then I'm also going to drop Kevin Fixler. Like I said, that's where I get my breaking news information. That's where a lot of your true crime people get their information for this case, and I suggest anybody to, like, he's an awesome dude. Seriously, I'd love to have him on the show sometime, because really he is about integrity, and he has always been. He's been on this the whole time, and the whole time we've been shouting him out, and I'm glad to see that he's still, with all of this stuff that's coming out and all of the documents, I'm glad to see that he's the, you got to promote and support the people that are doing the right thing, going about it the right way for the right reasons, because they're very minimal. There's not very many of them out there, or us, and that's why it's always important to go support these people, because
I haven't seen much in the way of this special prosecutor possibly being appointed in mainstream media, but I haven't looked. But I don't know.
Well, and Dateline has not returned any contact that's been reached out, so they're being about it.
The question I have is, can Dateline reveal their sources from LE, or is that something that's protected? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
They better. Wait, listen. Why? I don't know why the courts wouldn't be able to make them.
Right?
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is evidence. This is evidence. And I guarantee you, if they open up an investigation, like I said, there's already a patsy that's been in waiting. The trial is almost about to start. Their job was done after this Dateline episode. That was the last part. All they had to do was make it as far as the Dateline episode. That's where they won, because they could have gotten booted and kicked off to the side and exposed way before now. And this Dateline, I feel, was them running through their finish line. They know that it's coming. And I guarantee you, if they open up an investigation, it ain't going to take very long until they tell you who it is. They already know. He's already ready and waiting, but in his mind, he won, because all he had to do was get to Dateline, because now everything is set in motion. Jury selection's coming up soon. Trial's going to be starting in a couple months. Now the judge has to add on extra juror members because of this. You see what I'm saying?
And it makes it harder to select a jury. Mm-hmm.
I started at the top of that mountain. I made a little teeny snowball, and I kept pushing it and pushing it and pushing it and pushing it until I got to the Dateline slope, and that's when I just let go, and I watched it get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger as it kept going down the mountain, and that's what you're seeing.
Well, we'll just have to see. So yeah, I'll figure out my schedule. August.
You too, typically. Yeah, I'd like to have it.
Well, typically it's going to be retired, so
everybody, a full panel, and we have a little round table Will be
Yeah.
a round table, and you guys should be able to stream it to your own channels too from here. So
So I'm figuring.
whoever wants to join the round table, you can stream it to your own platform too. So
All right.
reach out to me and let me know, because I'd like to try and get some stuff. Obviously it's a few months away, but when I can get like I want to get a nice roster of it. So thank you, Yolie, for hanging out.
problem.
And it was good chatting about it. And thank you all for hanging out.
I'm glad we didn't have any technical problems, because I'm.
Well, we're with StreamYard now.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was
Okay.
EVMUX, I think, is.
Oh, I kept getting, but I had my phone and anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll see you guys.
Thank you all. Appreciate you. Love you.
We'll
We'll
see
be doing a late show tomorrow. Me and Rosie will be.
What time?
We're gonna be doing late. We're gonna be doing our late night show. We're starting off on the weekends, Fridays, Saturdays. Starting off at 11 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Central. Our late night shows. So me and Rosie are gonna be hanging into the night with you guys. So.
Too bad Rosie's on a different time frame than me. I would love to do something with her, but I can't. It's like she's on a different time zone.
Well, that's 8 p.m. for you. If you want to join tomorrow night, you're more than welcome. 10 p.m. Central, 8 p.m.
That's true.
Pacific.
Okay.
So if you want to join, you're more than welcome. We'll be kicking it late night for a few hours. Love you guys. Appreciate you. Thank you, guys.
Okay. Talk to you guys later. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Okay over there? Alright, is your victim at the hospital? Someone shot there. Alright, do you see them take pictures of the, is it domestic related? She's calling back. We're going to try to give her a call again, and then she just added another phone number to the 13-year-old grandson, who's possibly with the daughter. That was just.
24
Someone's calling it, so they have a female that are communication. You're checking 12, check them out. First time out.